Haman tells you something good. It came out of what he called a Teitzah, or something that a behemoth did. Therefore, you're also supposed to not be cruel to that animal. You have to be makatei. Yeah. And say it's brought down in Ad Kei Kaf. I remember we're sitting here in a shul, but it was only the other day that I was reminiscing with somebody about my early experiences here in the shul. Yeah, but the first time I ever came into the shul here was before the 6-Day War. Yeah. And then it's got a whole long history to it, but then Lahari was there. But the reason I got onto this was that I was in my office upstairs and I wanted to look up something in the Likutei Torah. And my Likutei Torah is downstairs. That's where I keep my Likutei Torah. I got 2 copies downstairs. I couldn't, the heck, be bothered to go down. I just couldn't be going down, but I needed to look up. So what I do, I have 2 old copies of Likutei Torah, very old. And they're so old that it's hard to read this up a little bit. I said, oh, I got this. So I looked up in them what I wanted to look up. And so they are Sforim that were in the old stibble here around the time of the 6-Day War. And one of them is from Kaf Mar Heshvan. Now I'm not a how do you call it, a collector of old Sforim. I don't collect old Sforim. But the reason I have these for him is that then the guy that looked after the shul, he was a Nogarish Yid. He said to me that there's a problem in the roof, and it could be some time that they're going to make it forbidden to use this building, the area, because it was like a problem. Maybe there could be like a fault, it could be a danger. So he said that I would recommend that to really, tie the swine from the Lubavitch if you would take them out. And he said, look after them, and they'll be yours. You can keep them ad infinitum. So I got 2 copies of the Likutei Torah, and I had a copy of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan. But the copy of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan was in Tel Aviv somewhere. So I didn't make it here with me, this part of it. But the 2 copies of the Likutei Torah, one of them is from Kaf Mar Heshvan. And Kaf Mar Heshvan, that was the birthday, I think, the year that the Rebbe did some tzaddik was born. When he gave it was the first year the Rebbe Marash.
Istalkus of that.
Huh? Oh, Istalkus. I think, yeah. Right. Yeah, could be. Anyway, whatever, it's something to do. It's an important year. I'm a bit confused at the moment. Yeah. So that's how I came onto the whole business with the shul. So, Baruch Hashem, in recent years there's been a family, a mishpacha, that they've helped the shul a lot. And the interest is called Rav. And the interesting thing is that I know him also. I used to go to Toronto collecting for our walk. And he used to give me always a modest but quite nice donation for Tom Fitzgerald. So I happen to know him. And he comes in, so tonight is the outside of his son, isn't it?
His father.
His father, yeah. Right, it's the outside of his father.
Yosef ben Shloime Gimpel. Yosef ben Shloime Gimpel.
Yosef ben Shloime
Gimpel. Gimpel, it's a Yiddish name, Gimpel. Gimpel. Yosef ben Shloime Gimpel.
We have to be...
You spoke before about Tomchei Tmimim.
Oh.
Das heißt Tomchei Tmimim, und die sind Tomchei Tmimim.
Yeah.
Tomchei Tmimim.
We have to be Tomchei Tmimim, he's right. Yeah. 100%. We mentioned his name to be Mekayim the Yiniv and Hakoras HaToiv, and also to hope that there will be further donations. Turkey Day Tefillah, because that the family will see, right and proper to assist shul further places.
Learning. Yes, you were supposed to go Kaf Mar Heshvan into Tomchei Tmimim, you said. You're supposed to go learn into Tamchet
The
Mimim.
Rebbe said that.
Yes, why was it called Tamchet Mimim? But not only the Tmimim, but those are Toimech in the Tmimim.
Yeah, that's why they said he's from the Tamchet Mimim. And that we want to mention. And also I want to tell you guys, B'tor Siyum, the whole union, we've been able to speak together tonight. I want to tell you something that made a tremendous impression on me, and I think it sums up a certain union about the Rebbe Rashab. And there was something there that people who saw him couldn't sort of get it out of their minds. And so I want to tell you a story that I heard from Rabbi Yaakov Diskin. Did you know Rabbi Yaakov Diskin? There was a person, when I first came to Eretz Yisrael, the person who worked in the office as the bookkeeper of Tamchet Mimim was a Rabbi Yaakov Diskin. And he was already a Yid of Bob Shonim. He was not a young man. And he was almost blind. He had these huge glasses. It was like you couldn't see his eyes because of the complexity of the lenses. He couldn't see his eyes. And yet, he kept the most beautiful books, and he had the most beautiful writing. It's just how it worked, I don't know. And how did he get that fault in his eyes? He got it from, in Russia, that the Bolsheviks got their hands on him, and they thought that he had certain information that could lead them to get to the whole crux of the Hasidim. And he said nothing doing. He has no knowledge, and he's not going to say anything. It's a waste of their time. So they came with these lasers. They tortured him. They broke his eyes apart, with these laser things, but he didn't talk. And if we couldn't, he couldn't. But he was the bookkeeper of Tamchet Mimim, and he was
Lud? By Frank Wolf?
Yeah, by Frank Wolf. And I could tell you a whole story about him, release. I could tell you another story, but the whole trouble is I just keep reading stories and I don't get anywhere. But anyway, I owe you all the story about him, because it's really a very interesting one. It involves the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, and it's Mamish HaNes with the Rebbe, the whole thing. So, Meretz Hashem, it's a Sipur HaRa'ui, the Sefer. But anyway, I heard from Rabbi Yaakov Diskin, I heard from him a Sipur. What did I hear from him? In Emerson, his family were originally, they were literature. They weren't, a few generations, but they weren't Lubavitchers. But it so happened that he and an older brother of his, they made contact with Lubavitch Hasidim, and without the whole reason, they became Shaykh Lubavitch. They became Hasidim. But they had contact with people that weren't. So all of a sudden, one of the very important Sidim, not long before the Istalkas, the Rebbe Rashab, he came to, Rabbi Yaakov Diskin called him about a certain thing. What was it? There was a Yid that he was Mamish of literature, and his job was to be a Maggid. He used to go around making droshes in the shores, and then he'd hold out his hat, And that was the type of Indian that he was involved. So he all of a sudden came into Rav Diskin and his father, and he said, "Listen, I'd like to go and visit the Lubavitcher Rebbe." He said, "Oh, my?" He said, "I'm scared." He said, "I'm told that the Hasidim over there make leitzonos, make jokes about people who are Magidim, standing with love." So he said, "I'm frightened to go there because, nothing for me a talk, They'll make a finish with him. They'll make leitzonos of him." So he said he wants really to go to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe, but he doesn't, maybe you have some sort of answer for me, maybe you can help me something. So this kid said, "Oh yeah, I got an idea." So he called in this big chassid, and he told him the story. So it's a question, let him come with me. He said, keiner mag mich von mir kein Partei. He said, no one makes. He said, so I'll take him under my wing, and he said, I'll look after him, he just always stand near me. And he said, Tom and Hamlet would to a point now call it equal, said, I'll know how to deal with him. So he said, oh, that's a good geschäft. So he tells the guy, and the guy said, oh, yeah, that sounds good. I'll stick alongside him, and I won't leave his side, I'll be with him the whole time. I can't wait. So they get there, and he was there for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim. He came back for Sukkot. That's how they used to do a lot of the Chassidim. It wasn't so nahug to stay the whole Tishrei. It was Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. There were some Chassidim who stayed over also for Sukkot and so on. So they come back, and this Mr. fellow, he came into the room together with Rotis and his father, and they started asking him, how was it, what happened. So all of a sudden the father, Rotiskin's father, mentioned, and he said, the Rebbe, something like that. He said, as soon as he said that word, this guy started to weep. And he said it was just a fear that you wouldn't know if it's going to stop. He just poured and poured and poured. He said, they just said the Rebbe's name. And he started to weep. And he said, Kachoya Achrezen, for years after, if anybody mentioned Lubavitch, or the Lubavitch Rebbe, or said something about, what happens in Lubavitch, he would start to weep.
This is
Yeah.
It's magic.
Yeah. And I said, what's Weinstein? He said, he called me no Gezen. He said, he can't stop her. He said, I only saw him. He said, but I can't stop crying. So that's what I heard from Rabbi Dizzy. Now, I want to connect that with another thing which happened to me. What's that? And then I'll let everybody go. And one more time. So what's the saying? I once went to Kaf Mar Heshvan. I went into Rander's office in Geneva. It was the day after Purim. And I asked him to do something, to sort of come with me to a certain Indian. And I didn't know if he was going to want to or not, because he'd been through a terrible visit with his leg. He broke his legs, and he went along. And I didn't know if he was going to want to come or not, but I went in to try my luck. So when I first said to him about the whole thing, he said, the weiß of him in Shkimen, by the Koiches, and Mishver, and he sort of gave different tirots, and I understood him. I wasn't upset, I was just a bit disappointed. So then it was quiet for a while. So all of a sudden I just said, to make conversation, I said, "Nechten gewen Kaf Mar Heshvan." Just to put in a good word, just to say something. You have no idea. He threw a sigh, and he sort of, his whole being just went, he said, I can't copy it, it's impossible to imitate it. His whole being just went out in that sigh. It was terrible. And I was really shocked, I said, I'm sorry I said nothing. I didn't mean I'd get a cat. And all of a sudden he saw that I was terrific, And he says to me, Der was hat ihm nicht gesehen. He was sort of, his eyes had tears in them. And he said in Yiddish, Der was hat ihm nicht gesehen, it kein mal nicht wissen. He said, it's impossible that he should ever know. And then he said, Loi bezeh, v'loi babo. He said, Afilu in Elam Abo, sound like nicht. In other words, the people who saw him just had an unbelievable effect on him. And so after I heard that, I understood a lot of Indian. So people had times to wonder why it wasn't anymore Makushit, it wasn't this. People had times to him. But the way he sighed, the way he said that to me, I can't forget it. And it was just, it was so, emistic and so not put on. It was just his whole being, And then he said, there was something which he said. So you can't have time for such a person. That's it, my guys. It's Kaf Mar Heshvan, it's a day. It's a day. All I do, I just Kaf Mar Heshvan. Oh, and so then I got up to, I felt I was making him feel bad, you know. It was very terrible. So I decided, you know, I'd overdone it a bit, and maybe better if I leave. So I got up, and then just when we got to the door, he said, "You Condia," he said, "I know you." He said, "You want to hear a story? Du willst hören a secret." So I got myself completely shoulder off, you know. I couldn't believe it. So he told me a little story about the Rebbe. And then, all of a sudden, you know what he said? He said, "Wegen dem kommen mit dir." He said, "Meine Kinder haben cars." Because the Moshe Vitali had in those days, he had only got a car. So he said, "Meine Kinder haben cars. Ich will mit zum reden mit den Kindern, sie können mich führen in the car." That's what he said. And he came. You know what it was? It was Menachem's wedding. Menachem's first, when he got married the first time.
What was the story? What was the story?
Hmm?
What was the story? When was the story you told me?
I mean, I'll be talking here all night. I got to get up.
You said before that the Rebbe gives kochos.
You see,
that's the problem.
I put my foot in it. There's an old saying. Yeah, there's an old saying in the Australian English. You open your mouth and you put your foot in it.
Oh. You're lucky I don't forget, huh? So what's the story, though? What was the story? What was the story?
Anyway, he told me the story like this. I'll make it bekitzer, because it was maluva with a whole series of other inyanim. But the Nakuda was that the Rebbe Rashab, it's well known, he could not stand anything chitzonis, anything that was not 100% pnimis, genuine, absolute. He couldn't stand it, but not to stop. He just could not take it. So Vlander was very close with him in the last years before these stalkers. And the closer he got with the more he was just, in complete awe. He just let down. So he used to make all sorts of, tricks to accompany the Rebbe if he had to go somewhere. He wanted and loved to accompany him. But the Rebbe wouldn't let him accompany him, only if he had some reason that he also had to go.
He didn't want to take cover.
But he would not let him go just to accompany him.
Because the cover.
Because it's chitzoni.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Chitzoni.
Shimush.
So he used to dream up all sorts of reasons, all sorts of yonim, and all sorts of toys. He had to go here and he had to do this, and all these should be able to come to the Rebbe. And a lot of times he was not clear. The Rebbe was makabel, and he would walk with the Rebbe. So he says that one Friday the Rebbe had to go to the mikveh. The Rebbe was medacted to go on Friday to the mikveh. So he said to the Rebbe, when he halfway came in the apotheke is a chemist shop or something. He said, "There you go." He said, "You can love tonight." So the Rebbe said, "Okay, contact." So in the meantime, he had time when he went to the barbers to get a haircut. And the barbers in those days, when they used to finish cutting your hair, they used to spritz water on your hair, to make it all sort of sit nice. They spritz on your beard and on your hair. They used to spritz over a big spritz, your power water. Nowadays they also do it, so he comes into the Rebbe and he's all sort of damp, he's got this water. And so he looks at the clock and he says to the Rebbe, "Es Zeit was mir, darf schon gehen in Mikveh." So the Rebbe looks at him and he says, "Aber du bist schon gewesen in Mikveh." So he says, "No, Chodi, ich bin nicht gewesen in der Mikveh." So the Rebbe said, "Wie kommst du bis nass?" He said, "Bist du ganz nass?" "Ja, bist du gewesen in Wasser? Du bist gewesen in der Mikveh." So he says, "Look, Cholila, ich bin gewesen bei der Sapa." So the Rebbe said, "No, you can't me nicht verfehlen." The Rebbe said, "You can't bluff me." So he had to beg for Rachmim. Mamish begged for Rachmim. A shade for minute. And in the end, the Rebbe was sort of still in doubt about it, but, all right, but the Evid, and he accompanied the Rebbe to the Rebbe. Well, he had to fight for his life to get
Shimush is called Chitzoni?
Huh?
Shimush. Called Chitzoni?
I'm just telling you what I heard, man.
Oh.
There's an old saying. Remember when you asked me a svara in Kashin svara, so I answered you.
Okay.
Of mices, you're still in Kasha, you know that. Of mices is no Kasha. That Philip first. And he said, in the end, he accompanied. And he told me another mice. He said, the ones he took, he accompanied the Rebbe to the Mikveh Shabbos in the morning, early. The Rebbe used to go early to the Mikveh. He accompanied him, and he didn't go in to the mikveh because the Rebbe was saying he's not going to go in. And then when the Rebbe came out, he had to go straight away back. So they're walking, and all of a sudden the Rebbe says to him, "When was you given in Wasser?" What's a surprise? He said, "When were you in the water?" So he said, "The Rebbe versteht allein." He said, "What's versteht?" The Rebbe said, "What am I supposed to understand?" So he said, "Well, he said, the Rebbe, he went dorthin, and he can't gehen, I can't go. The Rebbe was in there. The Rebbe said, "Verbuschen nicht?" He said, "Why not?" He said, du willst mir nicht." He said, "Warte, bis ich tue an die Unterwäsche." Ich want on die Unterwäsche, kennst du eigentlich? Unterwäsche means underwear. He said, "Ich bin schon in Unterwäsche, kennst du schon eigentlich?" That's what he told him. And then he said the Rebbe complained the whole way back. How could it be that to leave him, a zweiter soll nicht gehen in Wasser? He was right about it the whole way.
That's his problem.
Chaim.
Is given known Rostov. Uncle Lande given known Rostov.
Yeah.
Nicht given in Lubavitch?
No, so. A piece of in Lubavitch, but then he came in Rostov.
Given in Lubavitch.
He came into Lubavitch, Tofresh Iron Hay, going into Tofresh Iron Ball. And the Rebbe left Tofresh Iron Ball.
Rostov.
He said all of a sudden they were walking, all of a sudden the Rebbe sort of went out and he said, "Hey, du bist nicht gewinnen, was
Chaim. The Rebbe wants that you should bring L'chaim for Yom Huledes. I think the Rebbe Rashab Yom Huledes. Ani Yom Huledeticho. Years back, they used to bring L'chaim. They used to ask, "Who's your tzad?" He says, "Who's your tzad? What kind of your tzad?" I'm going back to Butel. Well, your tzad. So given a your tzad, you said before, Yosef of Shlomo Gimpel, your tzad. I won't wrap my father. But it should turn into the audience. You bring a L'chaim. Everybody should ask, "Okay, whose birthday is it? Whose birthday is it?" Alle Tikkunim is Shemi Tikkunim. That's all.
Yeah. He says, Mutter of Yom Huledes for Takin is calling him.
Yeah.
Tak is it.
Lebedik L'chaim.
Yeah, Chaim.
Chaim.
What is it, Chaim? And it doesn't Lebedik.
No.
Good. So I'm going to be honest.